Okay, so we've learned the basics of understanding strings, so let's take a very sensible approach and learn how to correctly type check a string. Now this is pretty easy as it was with numbers as well, but when you need to type check something, we want to use the type of as a first approach. If type of doesn't give us what we want, then we know it's a special type of value and we're going to have to use something a bit more advanced. Now, if we go ahead with our example and just do type of pepperoni, could be absolutely any value in here, and this gives us a value back as a string. Now, one thing to note, and I'd expect that you would have known this by now, that even if we add a number inside of a string, the type of is still and always going to be a string. We can put absolutely any number in there, it will always be a string unless we get rid of these quotations around it. So that's what we want to understand with the type of keyword. We understand that it gives us back a string, and when we want to check it, using type of here is a very reliable approach. The next approach, and similarly to what we did in the numbers chapter, we said that we wanted to use the instance of. So we're going to check here if our string is an instance of the capital function string. Now, much like a number literal being an instance of a number, that was also false. Now you may be thinking, why are you showing me all these things with instance of? But I guarantee in weeks or months or even a year's time, you'll encounter a specific scenario and you'll remember exactly what type of does, exactly what instance of does, and you've got the experience to handle the particular scenario quickly. So let's move on to the next item. What I want to show you is this approach, passing in a string to the string constructor. Now at this point we can say instance of string. Now what do you expect this to be? We're using the new keyword and we're using instance of. Now if you guess correctly, that does in fact give us the value of true. Now when we did new number, instance of number, that was also true. So again, anything with this new keyword is typically creating an instance. So as long as we're checking the instance matches the constructor, we'll be smooth sailing with the value of true. Now, interestingly, if we do something very similar and we remove this new keyword from the beginning of the string, we'll in fact see false because we're not creating an instance. We're using that static function just on its own. We're not creating a new instance. Therefore, instance of will not work. But it's really interesting, and we're going to use this exact same setup in every single chapter where we correctly learn how to type check each of JavaScript primitive and data type values, because they're not all the same and they do differ. So it's important for us to just compare and contrast these and learn the differences between them. Now again, if we wanted to, we could hit the object.prototype. We can call that toString. We can do call, and we can pass in pepperoni as the value. And you may have guessed it, we're going to get object with string back in our DevTools console. So this is the super safe way. Again, I can't stress this enough, that this is the bulletproof way of detecting the type of something. The type of works perfectly with strings, and we'll see it fail with other objects such as arrays as we continue throughout this course. So it's important to understand what type of does, what instance of does, why it behaves differently with the new keyword, and also this object to string method where we change the context and get a very reliable result back. So that's it for this video. I will see you in the next one where we'll go ahead and explore some methods on these strings.